Thank you again for being here today, Professor Summerfield.
Well, it's my privilege. Thank you for inviting me.
I think I'll start out by first of all, thanking you for writing That Myriad-Minded Man.
Well, maybe I could interject at this point and say that some credit must also be given to Alan Denson, who compiled the bibliography that made the work possible. And secondly, some credit should be given to Colin Smythe, the publisher, who has published not only the biography, but 4 volumes of A.E.'s writings collected.
What impact did your reading and friendship with Alan Denson have on your work on A.E. and the biography?
Well, he continued looking for materials and things that he'd missed before, and he was very helpful all along.
You knew Dearman Russell.
Yes, I did.
How did you find him?
Well, he's a literary agent. He was not that difficult to find.
You knew he was in America.
Yes, oh yes.
He was helpful to you as you researched A.E.?
Yes.
You mentioned that in your book. Did he ever share remembrances of his father?
Maybe a little bit, but not very much.
Not very much.
I think he'd written them out in his article, just called A.E., and it was the first piece of writing about A.E. that I read. And it got me very interested in him. It's reprinted at the beginning of my selections from the Irish Homestead.
Why has A.E. been neglected in the sense of having conferences, summer schools, academic essay collections, monographs, deeply focused on his achievements, versus somebody, say the writers Wilde, Shaw, Yeats, Joyce, Beckett, and the list goes on?
Well, A.E.'s literary accomplishment was not equal to theirs. That's probably the main reason.
Mm-hmm. You discuss that at the beginning of your book when you're talking about how multifaceted he was.
Yes.
That's wonderful. On to our next question. What was A.E.'s masterpiece out of all of his writings?
I would say there were 2, The Candle of Vision and The National Being.
Would you say a little more about both of those?
Well, I've just written an introduction to a new edition of The Candle of Vision, actually a translation of it into Irish. But well, The Candle of Vision is the book in which he is most successful in conveying the nature of the remarkable nature of his visions.
Mm-hmm.
And he argues about their possible meaning and derivation, and about the world memory. And these those are really speculations. They're very interesting speculations, but that's what they are. And the national being, I think it's relevant to the present stage of the world because he's combining his his concept of a national culture and identity with a desire for uh, with a plan of cooperative work and or cooperative economy, I should say,
Mhm.
the cooperative economy, which will benefit everybody, including the capitalists who will be displaced. And he cites triumphantly in the Irish homestead the case of a shopkeeper in the country who had sold out to a cooperative, signed on as manager, and tripled the turnover.
That's wonderful.
He says no one will be left out of the cooperative commonwealth. Though he didn't expect a complete economy to be cooperative, but the cooperative element to be the dominant element. There be some, he said, no, there is some need for public institutions, and there is some scope for the enterprising individualist who perhaps needs control of his whole enterprise.
Mhm. There's a real dichotomy right now with the United Nations declaring this year the year of the cooperative, and yet I'm sitting in America, in the heartland, looking at news that I find cruel and destructive and anything but cooperative. It's not
Well,
lifting people up.
no, well, feel the same way in at least as strongly in Canada. Where no, it's there is scope for the kind of thing that AE was after, and the scope for that in the present world.
I wonder, I'm not a Blavatsky scholar, but I do sometimes think, is this what she meant by the Iron Age? Am I living in the Iron Age right now? Is this the extremes of materialism and selfishness, individuality that doesn't care about the greater good?
Well, I think the Iron Age was the age of human history and wars. It's I think probably all of human history is considered part of the Iron Age, and it's the same. There are different traditions have different elements of this. We have the lost golden age of classical mythology. We have the Garden of Eden, um, and there's in Indian mythology. There's I don't remember the terms, but there's a similar concept of a descent into the evil age.
You mentioned Candle of Vision. In Candle of Vision, AE does not mention James Morgan Price, but I
No,
wonder, do you, his presence is there, don't you think?
yeah,
He shaped, he was the teacher, I believe, that was instrumental in AE being able to discipline himself.
well, to a great extent that is true, and I think I've brought that out in the biography.
You have.
Yes, and he gave me a book by him gave me the clue to a lot of things, particularly in AE's poetry.
You mentioned that, the symbolism.
Yes,
Yes. Okay. So there are different levels depending on your understanding of. the teachings of Price or Theosophy.
Yes, I suppose you could call them levels. I wouldn't really think of them as levels. I would just think of them as the meaning.
Okay, right. But perhaps the person reading doesn't see, they're not trained to see, or they're not prepared to see.
Well, they probably don't. They don't have the key unless they've done a bit of background reading.
Weren't they expecting an avatar to emerge?
Well, he was. He had that vision, and he returned to the idea in his old age when he wrote the avatars.
How did AE's beliefs in theosophy and mysticism inform his social activism on behalf of the Irish Agricultural Organization Society, if at all?
Well, yes, they did. They did indeed. He got the kind of inspiration that a lot of people would get from a formal religion to work for the benefit of humanity.
Was Russell aware at the time that he and his counterparts were participating in a cultural revival, or were they just doing what came naturally to them?
Oh no, they were participating in a cultural revival. Now, the articles that Peter Kutch has edited in Writings on Literature and Art make that very clear.
You believe they knew they were?
It was conscious.
Okay.
Cultural revival is.
What influence did Russell's early northern years have on him in later life?
And that's very difficult to say. Um, I think, yes, I think it taught him the value and justification for rebelling against authority when authority is unjust or oppressive.
How has Russell's legacy evolved over time?
Not, not, well, as you said at the beginning, he's been neglected in recent years, but the state of the world is now such that there's value in remembering his life and what he's got to teach us and remind us of.
Okay, this is a bigger question. What does AE have to tell us today? What does he stand for?
Peaceful negotiation, the maintenance of democracy, liberal democracy, the spread of the cooperative movement to fight poverty. But there's another point about the cooperative movement that's important, and that is that it makes people flourish through their own efforts and not rely on charity or state help or less creditable means of support. He talked about manliness in humans being gods in exile, and that they should live up to that.
So self-reliance and earn nobility.
Yeah, that's good. That's right.
I'm thinking of some of the American authors as we talk. Emerson, Thoreau.
Well, something of a favorite of AE's, and Whitman especially. Loved Whitman. he was inspired by Whitman when he was young, even wanted to go to America.
It's certainly a guidebook for me and for many others, because what you've done here is not only to tell a life of a many-sided man, but you've done it in a way that you have given us and the future, you've given all of us many clues as to where we can go next.
Oh, well, that's good.
So thank you for that. Please consider this quote by Professor Summerfield, where you say, "Few in history have had such a many-sided life as he, a complete man, a great man, who has been unjustly neglected since his death in 1935, 40 years ago." End of quote.
Yes. Well, I think that's not the most important thing. I like to think that A.E. would be pleased that I'd concentrated in his biography on the things that were most important to him: theosophy, cooperation, and the arts.
Peter Kutch?
Yes, he's either in Australia or New Zealand. I can't remember which.
Well, apparently he claimed that A.E. was not a genius.
Well, I strongly disagree with him. He was not a poet. You know, he was not a poetic genius. Whether he would have proved an artistic genius if he had fulfilled his early ambition and become a painter, I have no idea. But he was to my mind, he was definitely a man of genius, a spiritual genius.
Is there anything else at this point that you'd like to add about A.E. studies?
Um, Only that I hope they continue.
Very much so. And I hope you don't mind. I hope this is okay with you if once in a while, if I think of something, if I reach out to you, maybe we can talk again.
Oh, yes, you're very welcome to do that.
Okay. Well, Professor Summerfield, thank you again. This is such a wonderful opportunity for me and for all of us.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye. There seem to have been flashes of previous lives with her. So you did that. Yeah. That's what I did. I tried to get over to memory of the services. His friends, he never had a second of his life. They told him, he was a good including doing it.